Good morning. We are live.
Good morning, everybody.
How are
Say,
you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good on this Sunday.
Yes, Sage and Bloom Sundays.
Sage and Bloom Sunday. I like the sound of that.
Yes, absolutely. I love Sundays. I've reclaimed my Sunday.
Yes. You know what? I think I have two now because of this. It kind
Hmm
of sets a real specific tone for the rest of the day. You really can't deviate from it afterwards.
Yeah, and it also sets the week up for me. So
Yeah.
this is kind of like the day that I create my foundation for the rest of the week. So it's a nice foundational, alignment that that helps me to continue to flourish and
Mm-hmm.
create and all the things. So yeah, I
So,
love
how was
it.
your week? What did you have going on last week?
Oh, last week was there was a lot that happened last week. Um, and that will be for a later time. But
Mhm.
I will say that the one thing that I got out of it is like capacity, like resilience. Resilience helps to build capacity. And
Yeah.
so I've just been noticing like how I'm resilient and how because of that I'm able to build and to create more capacity for myself. So yeah, it was uh it was great. It was a great week, but that's what I got out of it. It was continuing to, see where I am in my life and continue to, build out capacity to, continue to do the things that I love to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for my week, this I think I just this was a pretty productive one for me, but just not in terms of like output, like I just did, but just flow. Like I
Mm,
think it was just a really good consistent flow through the days of the week, despite
nice.
no matter despite the things that were going on. So one of the colleges that I was working with announced that they're closing in May. They announced that on Tuesday. And ironically, I had a meeting with the former president of that college that same day they announced it. And so, that kind of impacted the work that I'm doing real time. So it's an interesting thing. But I think immediately I'm just like, I got this. You know, I'm excited for what'll come from it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said.
hmm
That's like that you're creating resilience, right? Like so because you're gonna have to like expand yourself at this point, right?
hmm hmm
So, and it also aligns with your fundraising campaign too.
hmm
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. It's like now I got this capacity, you know what I mean? Because I'm continuing to shift and change in that resilience that I'm able to pivot into, like, because people can't do that. I'm noticing more and more. Yeah, like I'm
makes
noticing. Yeah, like people are, pivoting is very uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable space for a lot of people. But when you have created like the resilience to pivot all the time, man, it's like, okay, let's go. It's another game, like you're playing another game. So yeah, I'm having fun with it too.
Yeah, and I think that leads us into our discussion for today, which is
Let's
just like
go.
the power of pausing, because I think
Oh,
that's just a real key component to pivoting, to doing it, to being being resilient,
yes.
all of the things, just knowing how to pause. And so today, we have a guest, and I'm so excited because this is one of my good friends, Happy, and I'm gonna just go ahead and read her bio real fast. And just to make a note that I don't be reading bios. I just Vanessa convicted me. She made me realize we got to start reading these bios because they matter and they're important. So Hapi Lightfoot is a Chicago-based filmmaker, creative director, and wellness advocate whose work bridges art, culture, and healing. As the founder of the Alchemeyes Production and co-creator of Mirrors to Stages, live sessions, Hapi spotlights artists and community builders transforming their pain into purpose. A Columbia College Chicago film student and mother, she's on a mission to show how storytelling and self-care can alchemize the soul and inspire collective growth. That is amazing. And I'm just telling you from experience, I know it's all true. So without further ado, I am going to bring Hapi to the stage. Hapi.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course, of course.
How are you feeling?
Happy Sunday morning. It's Sunday. It's my favorite day.
It's
a little early for me. I have to admit, it's a little early for me, but I'm up. I'm awake. I got my coffee. We're all good.
Why is Sunday your favorite
Vanessa?
day?
You know what? Sunday has historically been my favorite day. It's always seemed to be nicer weather. It's always beautiful on Sundays. It just is a feel-good day. I love the way Sundays feel. You know?
Okay, well, Vanessa, happy Vanessa.
Yes, great to meet you. I just
nice
want to say,
meeting you.
I'm so excited to connect with you. Just from what Wanaki says about you. You know, she shares so much about how much you have impacted her life. And
it goes both ways for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, like anybody that can articulate that to somebody else, I think is, you know, definitely worth meeting. And so glad you're here today to share your story and to talk about this, you know, what we're talking about today, which is the power of pause, right? So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here early, because you're right, it is early.
I'm just talking because I usually, when I do go to church, I go to 7:30 service. So I'm just talking. But
yeah, I know, but it's still early though.
It's early.
I mean, I admit it. It is early, but I think that, you know, it's also very nice to start, like we were saying, like to start our day and especially our Sunday, having these kind of conversations. So agree. Thank you for being here.
I agree. And it goes both ways. Wanaki has poured so much into me, and I am frequently talking about her. She is my adult best friend. Like, she's the best friend that I met in my adult years. At the time, I think God really introduced us when I needed her. I needed someone who spoke like me, who understood like me, who was kind of on a similar journey. And that's kind of what Wanaki has been. And she's spoken about you as well, very highly. And, you know, I think one thing I really appreciate about Wanaki is that everyone I've always met through her has been with intention. Each person in her life is there with an intentional purpose. And I love that because it really makes you comfortable in knowing, okay, this is the kind of person this is. She chooses the people she surrounds herself with intentionally. So it's very nice to meet you.
Well, thanks, guys. I mean, wow.
You know what? Get your flowers, girl. Take your flowers.
Take them.
You're like, okay, lean in. Lean in. I appreciate you both. I'm grateful for you both, seriously. And I'm just excited that, you know, we can all be here to have this conversation, because I don't know that it's had the way that I have it, like with you both individually. I don't know that it's as common as I once thought it was. And so just I read your bio, but just a little bit more about yourself, Hapi, like just your journey as a creative. Were you always a creative? Was just, how did we get to this point before we even get to the pause part? Because I think the other thing is most people don't always start off as a pause kind of person. So it's work to be done there. So who are you before this, Hapi?
That's a great question. And it's really such a nonlinear answer, because I first was a young woman or a young lady who was very passionate about speaking. And I became a young mom I was a mom at 17, and that kind of changed my path as to where I thought I would go when I was much younger. But my guy and I were just talking about it. Actually, we woke up at like 5 o'clock this morning and we're talking about this. If anything had been different, everything would have been different. And
I told you that's what I'm
and
from.
our paths are really, our paths for a reason. So when I became a young mom, and I was modeling at the time, and I modeled for a couple of years, and then I went into accounting because I felt like I had to do the responsible thing. I have always been a creative person, but when you have certain responsibilities, you have to answer to those responsibilities in a responsible way. Mm-hmm. And so I chose a career path that I thought was the responsible way. And God kept tapping me on my shoulder like, hey, there's other options of being responsible. There's other ways of being responsible. And actually, I've asked you to be responsible in another way. And so coming up to the pause, it was like I was doing what I thought was the responsible thing, but I was not feeling good about my spirit. There were so many things going on in my world around me, and I felt like I should be making different choices. I thought I was doing the right thing, but things were still going wrong. And it wasn't wrong. It was life happening. Life was happening around me. And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm being called to do something different, So I had a couple different ways that my life went, and I explored those ways, but God will, I heard a long time ago, whenever you're uncomfortable, it's because God is asking you for something, and you have to really try to lean in to find out what that thing is, what's causing that discomfort, because life is supposed to be a little uncomfortable, but it also can be really good. God has promised us a good life, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And so whenever you're uncomfortable, I feel like it's always a moment that you can lean in and find out, what am I being advised to do? Maybe what is God calling me to do that maybe I'm not leaning into? And so before that pause, because I took a pause, y'all, I had to get uncomfortable. I had to get really uncomfortable in what I thought I was doing right, and say, okay, God, what is it that you're asking me to do that I'm not doing? So that's kind of what led to my pause. Yeah.
Wow. So my question to you is like, after, like, what was the practice, I guess you could say, because I've noticed that what was the practice that you continue to do throughout that time, like to notice that it was time to take that pause?
That's a good question too. So for years and years, I have tried to meditate, or I had tried to meditate. So for all my 20s, I was like, God, come to me, like, God, please. And I couldn't do it. I was sitting there, I was buying all the lavender and sage in the store, and I was trying to sit down and meditate, and it just was not happening for me, you guys. And I could not understand. What were you going to say, Wanaki?
I'm just asking, why was it so important for you in your 20s to figure that out?
Because my 20s was when I felt a lot of anxiety. I was dealing with anxiety like it was nobody's business. I mean, I was waking up just with my stomach in knots. And I'm like, what's wrong? Happy, what's wrong? God, what's wrong? Like, I'm asking anybody, what's wrong? And I was really, I had heard so much about meditation, and I had read so much about meditation. And so I'm like, this has to be the answer for me. And so every day I'm sitting and I'm trying to be silent. I'm trying to silence my mind. And it just it wouldn't happen for me. I mean, And I tried, y'all, for like 10 years. I tell this story religiously because it was real. I was really trying to sit down and meditate, and I knew it was the answer, and it wouldn't happen for me. And something happened when I turned 30. I lost my grandmother, and I was having a conversation with my mom and my aunt. We were cleaning out my grandmother's apartment. And I realized something in that conversation about the dynamic between the women in my family, specifically me, my mom, and my aunt, because we were in my grandmother's house, and my grandmother. And we all had a little bit of a different variation on what love looked like in action. And I realized that in that conversation, and I can't explain to you guys the way that it released something in me to be a little bit older and to have this very mature conversation with the women in my family and realize on my own that there was a difference that was okay. It's okay not to have the exact same ideas about life as the people around you, as the people that you love and the people that love you. And when I realized that in that conversation, it freed something in me, and it was like all the anxiety that I had been wrestling with for my 20s just came up off of me. It was like God released me to be me. And I got into a different kind of meditation. I learned about sound therapy, and sound therapy really, really helped me with my chemistry, with my brain chemistry. It just was, I can't even explain how that difference, it just shifted me. But I think it was two things. I think it was acknowledging the difference between myself and the women in my family and our ideas of love. And two, it was accepting and acknowledging that and finding sound therapy. And I was able to meditate from that point on. I feel like the weight of that anxiety kind of lifted off of me. And from there, I was able to make different decisions about my life, which, led to the pause.
And then, okay, that was great. Thank you. First of all, thank you.
Was it? Because I was like, that's a little all over the place.
No.
In my mind, like, this
No.
You took us on a journey.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's
that we needed to go and understand.
I think it's an important part to share the practices, because, like, I think for myself, and I know for a lot of people, this is a lifelong journey, right? But you have to find what's best for you, right? You have to find whatever modality that is, whatever, but it is a journey of discovery where you go through different changes, to find the thing that works best for you, right? But it is a practice. It is a muscle that you have to build, and it's something you have to practice, right? And so, like, I just wanted to bring that up because it's just an important part in how we grow, right? So thank you for sharing all of that. That was amazing. That's an amazing journey, and then that moment when you got it, like when it clicked for you. I mean, I think that is also very profound, especially with the elder women in your family, right? Which is very profound. I'm looking for a
But I want to say too, like,
go ahead.
Getting it, that I think that's so important. It's so important to keep telling that story, mainly because we run into so many people who are like, well, that don't work for me, or that doesn't work for me, and so then they just stop looking for the thing that could. And so it's like, you're right, maybe meditating in the traditional manner is not for you. Maybe it just ain't for you. But don't stop being curious or looking for the thing that you could connect with. And I think that's what ends up happening. Like, you ended up discovering something else that eventually led you down another lane. But that meant that you kept your heart open. Even if you weren't like consciously looking for it, you were still looking for it. And that's what I think is important, and people gotta not miss. You gotta keep your heart open to the solutions that you feel you need, that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's an important part of the journey, right? So has your practice changed now that you've gone through that, or I should say, since you had that breakthrough, right? Has your practice changed? Um, and what do you do now when you are pausing? Like even like it's something that I notice that I do now that um, in certain conversations I have with people that have a tendency to be maybe intense, or I usually stop, right, and I don't react anymore to a lot of that stuff, and I take time to think about it. Um, Even though sometimes in the moment I know, you know what I mean, like I know in the moment, but I still want to take time to like just look to see if there's other things for me to discover. And I've noticed that I get all of these amazing things come when I just take the time out just to like look at what just happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something like that just happened to me last week, and I decided, I told you know the folks I was having a conversation with, like, yo, I need to take a little time, and just me taking that time and thinking about it, I got all these really great opportunities for me to pivot inside of that relationship, um, that work for me, so I have created these boundaries and things for myself. So bring that to you or to Wanaki, either one of you, so, what is the practice that you have today around pausing?
That's it's a good one. And I think what happened, the shift for me was, as opposed to trying to meditate, I actually began to be able to meditate. So I absolutely invited the practice of now meditating with that new modality of sound therapy. And I was like, okay, now that I've found this thing that works for me with this unlocked knowledge. So when that knowledge, I feel like it was a revelation from God. Like when that knowledge came to me, I was like, okay, now I have this new information, and I can meditate on this with my new practice of meditating. So the way that I practice it, I think, and there's so many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? One way is the actual meditation itself. Another way is in what Wanaki was saying about being curious. I try to stay as curious as possible when I feel discomfort, and I bring it to people that who have perspectives that I respect and can appreciate and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this person may have a different perspective. Let me bring this idea to them that I need to pause on and
Mm-hmm.
see what they offer. And then let me meditate on that,
Right.
And also knowing that, and I don't know if this is I guess it has become a practice, knowing that it's okay to not be okay. Um, it's okay to not be okay because everything in the end is working for our good. And so even if you're not okay right now, if you allow yourself to not be okay, it will get you to the okay part.
Mm.
Ask the questions, be curious. Why am I not okay? What's going on? How can I get to the bottom of this? And I think that's what meditation is for me. It gives me that time and that space to turn my brain off. Stop overthinking. Let it not be okay. Calm your body down. And then try to come up with some different perspectives. Be curious, lean into what's really going on so that you can get to some kind of answer that ultimately will come in the pause, but it'll allow you to move forward powerfully from that pause.
Mm.
Yeah.
More intentional.
That's dope.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You just articulated like,
Very well.
no, that's exactly, what I have created in my life. And
Mm.
you just said that perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah. It's okay not to be okay. I had to learn that
Hmm.
because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what's going on?
And it's a lesson that you learn over time. Like each time
Yeah.
you're not okay, you just learn how to deal with it a little bit better each
Mhm.
time. And then over time, you look up and it's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to be okay, but I am okay here. Okay, cool. You know,
Mhm.
it's like with anything, just building that tolerance, building the muscle, just leaning
Mhm.
into it and just practicing being it. Everything I'm realizing is kind of like a practice, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Practicing allowing yourself to not be okay is a real thing that you got to be conscious of. So that's
Mhm.
what makes it a practice. Like you have to be willing, intentionally do the thing, and you have to
Yeah.
do it repetitively, consistently, so that you can build the habit, the muscle.
Mhm.
I heard somebody say once that experience gives you hope. And what I took from
I
that is like,
promise you.
when you've experienced the world ending so many times, it's like you have hope eventually that the world is going to stop ending, at in this juncture, and we're going to move on and it's going to all be okay. And so I think I experienced so many difficult things throughout my life that turned out much better than I could have ever anticipated. And so I think it's, for me, more advantageous to keep my calm than to
What
lose
is
my mind.
Yeah.
what is something that you've experienced that kind of helped like drive that home for you, or maybe when you recognized
My
that?
son,
Mm.
100% my son. I have a 16-year-old, and when I was 17 with a newborn baby in the hospital, and I was like, what am I doing? And every step along the way, especially throughout my 20s, where I was really having to grow up with, but I had a human child to be responsible for. And I didn't know if all of the decisions I was making were the right ones.
Mm.
But the beautiful thing about time is that time will show you, God will show everything, but time will
Mhm.
show you the seeds that you've planted.
Mhm. Your
So
fruit of your labor.
the fruit.
Mhm.
And so for my son now to look at him and look at his personality and look at his grades, hallelujah, and look at, just how he's matured and how those seeds that I planted in him that I wasn't so sure about when I was 20 and when I was 21 and when I was 25, um, seeing the fruit of the seeds is so beautiful, and it really lets me know God is in control even when we don't know what's going on. That has been the biggest thing, because I'm like, God, please don't let me fumble this blessing. Like, this is your blessing, and I don't know what I'm doing all the time, but I know that I'm trying to do the best thing. I'm trying to do the right thing. And I think so often in my life, that's what I have done. I've tried to do the best that I knew how. And I wasn't always right. It didn't always yield me the results I thought it would. But ultimately, like, again, everything does work for the good. And so even if it's not all good, it's for the good. And
Mm.
so yeah, just giving things time. Experience has given me hope that everything will be all right.
Mm.
Seeing the fruit of my labor with my son has been the ultimate thing, because I have seen the manifestation of my intentions, and
Mm.
that's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's great.
When you say it like that, just really quickly, like your son, like seeing the manifestation of your intentions, I wonder how many people see it that way when they're raising their children. Like the intention that you're putting into your child is going to manifest itself one way or the other. Um, or you can see the lack thereof as a result,
Mhm.
you know. And so it's
And
like,
I think that comes
thinking
from
about that,
fear.
like, whew.
I think when it's the lack thereof, I think that comes from, I fear that I'm not doing this, and I fear that this is going to happen, and then that manifests. And it's like, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. So one thing I will say is that I've always been intentional about not being fearful. Even when I wasn't sure, I wasn't fearful.
Mm.
I was still very intentional about what it is that I was trying to create. And I think we
Mm.
got to be careful with fear
Yeah.
and uncertainty. You could be uncertain, but don't be fearful.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, because I do see I got to see how, like, how my parents and other people in my life like had that in their, like, in their structure, right? Like they had that fear kind of based mindset in their structure, and it took many years for me to uncover where that came from for myself. And now I see it. Now I can see it when it shows up, and I know what it is. And like, this goes back to practice, right? Like, I know what it is now, and so now I can choose something else, which is so powerful. That 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 power of choice. So we actually had a guest on, and she was talking about choosing crystal, and
Crystal, I was
and
gonna say, yeah.
yeah, and I think that is such a powerful, um, just this choice, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's you guys' practice? I'm curious. Like, what's your practice for the pause? Is it a practice that leads up to the pause, or is it a practice that allows you to know you need a pause? What's your practice?
I think for me, it evolves. And I think part of my practice is knowing that, not being too attached to any particular way forever. And I just learned that. I just realized that for real this year, because I was in a space where that I needed the pause, but I was trying to still do all the things that I thought to do that could get me through it, and it just wasn't working. And so recently, I started just walking more through the neighborhood and just summer, like literally just walking, and just with no headphones, nothing, just literally allowing myself to pay attention to what's going on. I found myself just, I don't know, having a lot of great thoughts and conversations and realizations too, just from walking and paying attention to the things that was around me. So that became like my practice. And I would do that. And ironically, the crazy thing is exercising and things like that is something like that's something that is a part of my practice, but it's also how I know when I'm like out of alignment, because I'll look up and I haven't had like a healthy getting back into routine. There is a practice that leads me to that, right? I can't just go start working out again. It just won't work for me. Like my mind is all over the place. I'll have a thought and then I'm like, I'm working out, I'll have a thought, I'll stop, so it's like, nope, I need to figure out a way to ease my way back into, the things that are comfortable for me. And so that's the thing. The walking helped me because I would walk and then have this new little energy. So then I can go home and then work out because my mind is clear. So now I don't have a million thoughts going through my head while I am exercising. And another thing that I'm practicing right now is now. So if I'm in the middle of doing something right now and I get another thought, I literally tell myself, nope, now is now. And when I'm done with this, I'll get there, because I'm real good for stopping to go then do 1,000 things. So now is now has been very powerful for me because I find myself being more productive, but also executing at a different level because it has my undivided attention, And now, because I've been practicing it now for the last few weeks or month or so, when the thought pops up to do something different, automatically my mind is like, nope, now is now. And then I just can keep going. So that's
That's great.
practicing lately.
That's great. That's great. I meditate every day. So I do transcendental meditation. So I do that every day.
What is that? In the back, me.
TM transcendental meditation is just a form of meditation. So you have to be trained. Well, they give you a mantra. So they give you a mantra, and then that's your mantra. You can't share it with anybody. And then they show you how to meditate using the mantra, and then you meditate using the mantra twice a day, for 20 minutes twice a day. So I do it once a day. I've been the twice a day part I'm still working on, but I have done it every day for over a year. It's been like almost maybe a year, like 15 or 16 months I've been doing it. And I have to say that it has helped me tremendously in just not reacting at all. I don't react in any situation. There's no reaction, which is a little off-putting for other people. Let me tell you, especially when they're looking for a reaction. I didn't realize how much people look for reactions from people, but because I don't have one, it's very uncomfortable for people. They want me to like get upset or you know
Do
have like this.
something.
Yeah, you got to do
Yes.
something, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like, well, I need to see a little time to think about it. Usually I'll do that. I'll like pause to think about some things, even though in the moment I pretty much know what I'm gonna do. But I I now take a little bit more time to do that. I also am a writer, so I journal all the time. I'm always writing. Walking helps a lot for me in the park. I love walking in the park outside. So I have a morning routine which I do every day, which helps me. It just keeps my mind in a creative space. Um, I give myself a lot of grace. I don't beat up on myself anymore. I used to do that a lot. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I would tell myself that all the time. But I do know what I'm doing. So, like I had to tell my Vanessa, you know what you're doing. Stop telling yourself that you don't know. you know, because if I don't know something, then I'll just
Go
find
figure it
somebody
out.
that well, I'll find somebody that knows. I
Mhm.
usually
You know,
have somebody that
yeah,
I
well,
know that knows that, and I could just call them and be like, "Hey, can help me with this thing?" So I've created. I mean, but this is like years of me, like doing all kinds of things. I used to do a lot of personal development work through Landmark. I don't know if you are familiar with Landmark, but they have this. They have a training and development program called that starts with the Landmark Forum. I did that in 2017. I did all their leadership stuff. I've done all kinds all kinds of different things. And I have to say Landmark had the biggest like impact on me just because the forum was just really huge for me in my transformation journey. It just really I get to see who I really am and how
Mm.
much power I have. And I
Mm.
knew it was there, right? Like I knew it was there, but the Landmark Forum just kind of made it very obvious in the room. Like I was, just all kinds of little things. Like I could go on and on about it, but I will say this: I was in a training program with Landmark. It was called the Team Management and Leadership Program. It was a global program, right? And this is during the pandemic, and they had so we would have like 800 people on these Zoom calls, right? Like from all over the world, right? And so I'm in this training thing. And one of the things that we would have to do is we would have to raise our hands, even though we wouldn't know what to say. You know what I mean? And so I would raise my hand, but out of all of these people, they would always call on me.
Mm.
And it was so weird. Like, and I was just, and I don't know when I didn't know. I didn't have any question at the moment or anything, but I would just raise my hand all the time. And out of all of these 800, 900 people, they
They
would,
fall on you.
they call on me. So, I mean, that was something. That's when I really started to see that it's something more than just, it's my presence. There's something with this who I am that I can't deny it anymore
Mm.
because it's actually doing me harm. You know what
Mm.
I mean? It's like it's doing me harm by me not stepping into my light.
and the
So I
people
just
do.
yeah, absolutely. Like, and so it can be upsetting to a lot of people too because when I'm not when I'm being inauthentic, then it impacts other people, and then they get upset with me because because I won't want to be around them anymore. And it's not that I don't love them. It's just that it's not aligned. And when I deny who I am, then I allow certain types of energies around me who are really not for me.
Ooh,
And
you are speaking a word. You are
and I
speaking a word.
denied it. Like I would see the red flags. Like I see all of that stuff, right? But I didn't trust it. I didn't trust myself, right? Because I was like, no, that can't be. You know what I mean? I'd be like, no. And then like literally 6 months later, something would happen, and that person would be upset with me because either they would cut the relationship off or I would. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like it wasn't horrible or bad, but we weren't aligned anymore. But we weren't aligned when I originally saw it.
In the beginning.
You know what I mean? And I just be like, no. Oh, they're cool. They're all right. That's good. Good people.
Oh, have I been there? Oh,
have we all been
there?
there?
Crystal has joined us, and so Crystal had a few comments. So
Yeah.
So one says, Crystal said, "This is so good. I choose to believe I would see the manifestation of my intentions regarding my children. Thank you for saying that."
Oh yeah,
it was very good.
You
And
will.
That's great.
That you will. She is. I know she is right now. They choose her right now because of her choices and her intention.
Yeah.
And then she also said she used to be the girl who didn't believe in the power of pause. Same, might I add, same. Even though I heard God, I'm like, I got this, and what destruction it caused. So I learned the power of pause. What a save.
Yeah. It's definitely changed my life. I mean, the other thing that I didn't realize I could do, and this was a big one. This was huge. Was saying no to conversations.
Ooh,
Like when somebody says that they want to, can we have we need to talk. No, we don't. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to. And then when I started to see that I didn't have to do that, man, I was like, oh my God, it felt so good. Like, I don't have to talk to you. No, we don't have to have a conversation. No, I don't have to explain. I don't have to give you an explanation. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to do any of those things. That was so huge for me.
It's kind of disruptive when you think about it. Like pausing is disruptive. It really is, because it goes against everything that we are trained to believe that we are supposed to do and how we're supposed to operate. It literally is an act of destruction. That's why everything, the way I believe, that everything you see around us, it's so that you can do everything but that. Because if you would just learn to do it, or know that that's like the way to do it, you can't hear in commotion and chaos. You hear in the pause. You execute in those other times, but you have to be able to understand the assignment and hear and be very clear in order to go out and execute with confidence and conviction, right? And so when you're out in the chaos, you can be sure of what it was that you heard. But if everything around you is chaotic every day, all day, this is why you can't really, a lot of the times, I think this is why a lot of times I can't, let me speak for myself, can't make a decision and stand on it, because I'm not sure that it's mine. You know what I mean? And that makes a difference. I've noticed in my life when I've been able to make decisions and stand on them, no matter what it's been, because I've sat with it and myself long enough to know that this is what I've heard. I'm sure of it. And no matter what happens, I'm pushing through it. I cannot make decisions like that when it's chaos around me. So pausing has become literally a part of the business plan for me. I say this all the time, like it's a part of my plan. And I'm constantly, the same way you're constantly adjusting like your strategic business plans and all of those things, I'm constantly paying attention to what's working and what's not working in my practice, and how that ends up impacting my process. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's destructive. And so most people will opt out because it's hard to do.
That's so interesting that you say that, that it's destructive. And I think it's interesting to me because I've never heard it put that way, but I think you're right. there is an aspect of destruction in it. But when I think, the more you guys have talked, what I'm thinking about is why meditation, right? And I heard you say, Miss Vanessa, that you meditate as well, and transcendental meditation is something that I tried as well. But I want to kind of talk about what happens in meditation and why I was so adamant that it was for me. What happens when we experience trauma when we're young is that we lose some of the gray matter in the prefrontal cortex of our brain. And so that's where our flight, fight, or fawn response lives. And so when we have less gray matter, we're quicker to respond to or react to something that happens. And so when you said you no longer react to anything, I was like, oh, the meditation is working. What happens in meditation is that it actually over time will give you back gray matter. So the more you sit and silence your mind and train your mind, because our brains are very plastic. So the more you train your mind, you actually can regrow that gray matter. And that will actually create a pause. So as opposed to fight, flight, or fawn, you're like, wait, I have options. I don't have to simply react. I don't have to freeze. And just because I pause, it doesn't mean I'm freezing. I'm not frozen. I'm intentionally pausing. And because I'm used to be very reactive. I used to be real quick with the mouth. Like what you say? Oh, okay. Because we can talk about it,
I'm good with it too. I got a comeback or two real quick.
All the time. But parenting taught me that might not be the wisest thing to do. I want to address before I get too far. Crystal said she believes her manifestation will show up in the intention that she has with her children. I know it will, Crystal, because our children don't learn what we learn, but they see what we do. And I've seen your cards, and I've seen that you have the intention of making your choices intentional. And so I know that your children, whether you know it, whether they show it right now or not, they see that. They see what you do. They see that you make the intentional choice to choose your choices, right? So I believe that for you. But I think for any pause, that meditation for me was helpful because I do believe that it gave me the ability to pause before I spazzed out on somebody, because I used to be very reactive. And I ran away from home when I was 16. So I think that might be the thing. I was very small. I was a small girl, and I was in the world by myself. And I didn't want people to feel that they could take advantage of me. So I was like, oh, what you say? Like, oh, we gonna talk about it right now. You can't just say anything to me. And I was like, there's other ways to show your power. There's other ways to be powerful. And the pause has really allowed that to manifest itself, that there are other ways to be powerful. And the most impactful way is to not be reactive, but to choose your response. And that choice comes most powerfully when I pause, because then I know it's coming from, this is what I really want to say. I've lived long enough to know that everything that I do has consequences. So when I pause and I say, and I choose a reaction or a response, I know the consequences that may come with this, and I'm choosing, I'm going to take these consequences. This is authentically what I want to say. This is authentically what I want to do. This is authentically what God has called me to do, or I'm just going to do it by, whatever. The pause allows you to choose powerfully. And I really believe, I think that could be seen as destructive to whoever's trying to impose their will on you to do what they want you to do. It's like, no, I'm going to do what I know to be true to me. And the way that I can make sure that I do that is pause and make sure that when I go, okay, I've chosen this. I've chosen this path. This is the path I've chosen to go down, not the one that my reactive brain, put us down. And so now we're here, no.
Happy, First of all, you just snapped with this whole little, you just snapped with this whole run, because I think that just sums it all up. And the thing that you just said that really sums it all up, truly is the pause allows you to choose powerfully.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Because it's like choices are being made regardless. Choices are being made, but the pause allows you to do it powerfully. And you just
Mm-hmm.
said that, and that resonated with me immediately, because I never said those words, but when you say it that way, it's like, yep, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah,
It allows you to choose powerfully.
it does. And this is like this conversation is so timely for me because I'm in the space, I'm in the pause right now
Hmm.
and about to step into something that was not planned and was, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I actually thought it was going to be something else. And it now it's become apparent that I got to take time to sit down and look so I can choose powerfully,
Hmm.
right? And I think that there is the pause. Like I'm in it right now, so it this conversation is letting me know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the right path. And thank you so much for saying that. That was like that was just a confirmation for me that um choosing me has been something that I have put on the back burner.
And we do so often,
And
especially as
I
women.
exactly. And I'm right now, my kids are older, my daughter and son are both out of high school, and now I have the space and the time where I can I can choose me now, so it's a little different because I'm like, this whole year has been a roller coaster. I've been up and down and around, and and now I'm just kind of like in this really, I guess you could say like a moment where I'm pausing, right? But it's steady, and I
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feeling good about myself, like my body. I've always been um, always trying to do something to it, either if it's like exercising to do, I'm in a class and do some workout, but I mean, I'm still able to do a lot of those things if I want, but I'm just taking my time of, like, just like, let's do some stretching, let's walk, you know, let's lift some light weights. You know what I mean? You don't need to do all of that right now, Vanessa. So I'm just like kind of just taking my time and
Mm-hmm.
reclaiming it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really reclaiming my time. And so this is a great conversation just to add to just how I'm just continuing to uncover myself and just connect with people while I'm on this journey that are going through very similar things and are sharing such profound journeys that they've been on too. So thank you.
Yeah. Two things. Prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening.
Mm.
So it's not that meditation is everything be quiet, everything stop, everything. It's listening to yourself without judging yourself and without allowing your thoughts to overtake you. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this is a lot going on. It's about being able to choose which thoughts you actually hold on to. Which one is truest to me? There's a whole bunch of thoughts happening right now, but which one is me? Which one is answering to the highest version of me that I choose to live in right now? Like you said, your children are not in the house. Who am I? What do I want to do? What's my purpose? And the second thing is, you said this company, I wrote it down. What was it? Hold on, go back to my notes. And now it disappeared. Landmark. Landmark was something that really helped you. I, for years, had a life coach named Linnell Harris. He's here in Chicago. He's on WVON every Sunday, actually. So shout out to him, Insights for Life. And before my pause, I really was like trying to figure something out. I didn't know what. I was just trying to figure it out. And listening or or really being curious and learning about what I did not know, learning how to find my purpose, being connected to my purpose changed the game for me. Because now when I listen, after I pray and I go into my meditation, I'm choosing my thoughts based on my purpose. So how do I choose me? Well, I choose what answers to the highest version of what I believe God has placed me here for. How do I choose that? Well, it's connected to my purpose, which is to be light in dark places, and also light in light places, like my guy tries to remind me of. But I think finding our purpose, being connected to our purpose, it allows the pause to be okay. It's okay. We can allow things to fall down because we know how to rebuild. We know how to build, period. And so when we take the pause and we allow what falls to fall, when we allow those relationships that we shouldn't have necessarily been in, that weren't necessarily aligned, and it's not even that we shouldn't have been in, that weren't aligned. Sometimes we have to be awakened to the relationships not being in alignment. And I'm laughing because I just thought about something that happened with Wanaki, where I was like, Wanaki, who's this person?
Yes.
And I am not judgmental about people at all, because we all do the things, we all go through things. But I was like, one time I was like, this is interesting. This is an interesting choice. But it made me turn the mirror on myself more so than her. It was like, where am I choosing people that may not be in alignment with my purpose, or that are in alignment with my purpose, but may not be in alignment with this season of who I am? Maybe sometimes this season ain't for this person. Maybe sometimes I could save them all. And in this season, I could save them all. But maybe in this season, I don't need to try to save them all. Maybe I need to save me. Maybe I need to be true to me in this season. And again, that looks like listening based on purpose. So
yeah, and I can tell you too, in that season, how something like that would happen is because I wasn't pausing. I know for sure I wasn't. In that season, I was in a season of, I need to make something happen. It needs to go, go, go. And so I was just like attracted to speed, like the need for speed. Oh my God. And the thing is, when things are aligned, they can move quickly, but they're aligned. So the flow of it is real different. You get what I'm saying?
The flow.
It's no tension
because there was alignment. And
yeah.
The beautiful thing about you and being in relationship with people that you are aligned with is that it wasn't a bad thing that I saw. It was a mirror for me. It had nothing to do. I wasn't like, Wanaki, what are you doing? I was like, Happy girl, check yourself, and I checked
that's
myself.
Good. But that's good, because then it's like you putting that mirror on you and us, and then having a conversation, because we've had this conversation. It's like, it reminds me even more why it's important to pause, because you will get in your own way, your own, like your desires. This is the whole dying to the flesh thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's inevitable when you're moving so fast, your own desires can start to lead you. I needed speed. I needed things to move quickly. And so I was drawn to people who can move fast. Now, is that always good? No, but if I'm listening, if I pause, then I'll be able to catch it sooner. Is what I learned from it. Like, you just gotta pause. You know what I mean? And you just gotta take your time. And yes, the need for speed can be real, but also that's your desire. You're not on your time, though. So, but when you pause, not only do you realize it, you can learn to accept it. You can practice accepting it real time in that moment as well. So it's crazy. Man, but I love
the
how
pause is important.
Yeah, yes, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I think pausing is everything. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and not to be mistaken for a stop. It's like a pause is not a stop. It's a check-in. It's a okay, because I've been in a pause for a couple years now in one aspect of my life, but it's not a stop. it's a reorganization. In this pause, I'm reorganizing my life to look exactly how I want it to look. And if it takes a couple of years, it's fine. I've been here for way longer than this pause has taken place. And I plan to be here way longer, God willing. So I want to structure my life in the pause to reflect what I want the future to look like, to feel like.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been positive for about a year.
And I think it's okay. I mean, I've been positive for like, was it 2025? Like 3 years. And it's
Hmm.
an intentional pause that's filled with productive work. Not even, yeah, productive work, like
Oh
intentional
yeah, yeah.
work, you
Oh
know.
yeah. I mean, I'm doing some really interesting things. I mean, I love my life. My
Same,
life is really
Yes.
I
same.
have so much fun, even within the circumstance and the stuff, right? That
Yeah.
sometimes we're not too clear on what's happening or whatever, the things that are happening in our lives that aren't of our control, just riding the wave and trusting. So
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of fun this year, just being able to reconnect with myself. My mother passed away in 2023. So
Mm,
both of my parents are ancestors.
mm,
So you know, um, that also was part of the pause, right? Was to really look at my life now without my parents. And it's really given me a lot of power
mm,
to in the pause, right? Since I'm here, and I get to see like reflect. I've done a lot of reflection, seeing the patterns that I've chose like over the years, and the residual effect of all of those patterns, and seeing that now I can choose something else. Looking at all the things that show up in my relationships,
ooh,
cleaning up a lot of stuff too, you know what I mean? Without looking for any kind of outcome, right? Like just for my own
Because.
integrity, and accountability
yes.
that I have for myself. Not looking for any kind of relationship or anything like that. I'm just like, look, I got to get this off of me so I can move on. So yeah, it's been a great year, and
Good.
this is the season that we're in right now, this reflection season. At the end of the year, that's why we created this new series of conversations that we're having with Sage and Bloom,
Yeah.
that we will be, connecting with folks that have had impacts on us, for the next 8 weeks. So you were our first, our first person to have in our new
I'm so
series of,
honored.
yeah. And, this was a great conversation. Like I'm really being left with, this continued connection with people that are in alignment. Like I really
Mm-hmm.
see, I believe it, and I see it, that this platform, these conversations are very important,
Mm-hmm.
not only for Black women, right, but for just like the human experience, what we're going through right now in this world. I think this is the big transformation of how we live together.
I think
And
so
so,
too.
like
Yeah.
I'm just so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that Happy is here with us. So we, on this new transformational journey, in our society.
Yeah,
So
it is definitely a society-wide thing. It's a
Yes.
hmm
worldwide thing.
Yes.
yeah,
But when we go so far, I think it's always a pendulum swing. We're so far somewhere right
We got
now
that.
that we have no other recourse but to swing back to the other side of it.
It has to
But
come.
hmm
the winter is a great time to pause. And the spring is when things bloom. So the seeds we plant right now, they will bloom in the spring. But it's a beautiful time, I think, for you guys to be starting this series and to be doing this, because this is the pause. This is the hibernation time. This is the time to really think things through, you know. So
And I think too, because we didn't really get a whole, and I know we're over an hour now, but we didn't get a whole lot of time to talk about what that pause did for you. So you talked about like you ran away young and you became a young mom, and then you became an accountant because you had to take care of responsibilities. You started working in accounting, but then you in that pause realized that you wanted to live your life more authentically. And so you decided to completely career pivot switch, which is what I did. And you are a creative. Like, this is the part that we did not. A filmmaker. She did one of our mini docu-series on Elevate Greatness. But also you do your live shows, Mirror the Stages. And I kind of want to get into like all of, she also is a spoken word artist that she did, a poet. And she really is that girl. Like, she has the videos to prove it, like just well with words, writer, poet, artist, creative across the board. How do you pivot? How does I don't know how you contained yourself in accounting for that long, but how has that pivot been for you? What is it? Does it feel like a completely different life?
It does. It really does. I was always very creative, but in accounting, I was in the basement. However, I worked in hospitality. So upstairs, there was this beautiful venue called Baleo. And we would do events there. And I was always find myself in these events, like, just like, this is so nice. I love this. I want to do events. And so how the pivot or my pause kind of started was I wanted to pivot into the creative lane. I wanted to do live events. And God just convicted me. I was like, okay, I have to go do it. I have to get out there and do it. So I had to leave my job to do it for some reason. Lord, I don't know why I had to do that.
Girl,
but I had to leave my job because I just had no energy to be a mom and have a full-time job and try to do the things that I was trying to do. So I left my job and I started doing some live events. And I wasn't very good at it. I didn't know how to market. I'm a creative, not a marketer. I was good at the event side. I was not good at marketing these events. And, honestly, this was in 2022 that I left my job, and I've done a lot of things since then. I've done some live events with live bands. I've done some podcasts. I've done spoken word. I've done a lot of things. I've done some mini documentary. I did a mini documentary. I've done a short film.
Period.
But this semester, I'm still in school. I went back to school. That's what I did. I left work and I went back to school. I was like, I need to go to school for this. If I'm going to really have a creative career, I need to go to school and learn how people are successful at this. So I am in school now. I'm in art school. I go to Columbia. And it's actually not until this semester. I've been doing what I wanted to do. But this semester I had this class that's called Video for Performers. And it's really forcing me to, now that I have paused, I love that the timing of it, that now that I have paused, I have to answer who I want to be in this class. That's what this class asks of us. Who is it that you are as an artist? What is it that you want to say? And so in the time since I left my job and that I've been doing these creative pursuits, I have just been doing things, but now I have to say what it is that I'm doing. And I've never liked doing that. I've never liked saying, this is who I am and this is what I do. It just feels odd. But now, my professor is like challenging us to say, this is who I am. This is what I represent. This is what I stand for. So now, it's funny because, whenever somebody asks you in a job interview, like, tell me a little bit about yourself, I'm always like, who am I? I don't know. I don't know who I am.
And it's like, girl, you know who you are. Say it.
And it has been a journey of acknowledging that it's okay to be who I am. And going back to what you were saying earlier, Vanessa, about you can say no to conversations. What I had to learn was it's okay for me to be exactly who I am, no matter what the conversation that I'm having is. And
Right.
I had shied away from that for a long time because it was seen as combative sometimes. And it was like, if I was saying what I truly believed and the person I was sitting across from didn't like it, then I would try to make their feelings feel better. And it was really pulling me out of my authenticity. And I didn't realize it because I'm thinking I'm just empathetic. I want you to be okay. And it was like, I was really,
Not being
not being okay with me because I was trying so hard to be okay with the person that was in front of me. And so what I had to learn was it's okay to say yes to a conversation and be authentically myself. And me knowing my intention is not to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not to think I'm better or smarter or whatever than anyone. It just is what it is. It's okay for me to say what I know, to speak from my experience, and for that to be what it is. I had to learn that part. Like, and also to not engage in conversations that I did not want to engage in. It was okay for that too, But ultimately, I think the biggest lesson for me was just being okay being who I am.
That's not to cut you off, but that's important for me. I think, especially in this season of leadership, especially with the tone of things. The one. It's like on one hand, I like when conversations like this become a thing, but then on the other hand, I hate it because it's like unless you understand, you really don't understand what you're hearing, so you regurgitate a lot of things. And what I mean is that. Especially in leadership now, that this whole thing is like having conversations with care. Are you doing it with care? But it's like, to what extent, because you can do things with care and your intentions be pure and that, but it can still be misinterpreted. And then that starts to beg the different, like in these types of conversations where it's like, but how far past and how inauthentic are you asking me to be so that I can make sure that what I say is said in a way that you can receive it through all of these filters that you have that I don't know about. You get what I'm saying? So it's like there's levels to this conversation of doing things with care. Yes, your heart has to be right. You got to check your tone and all of these things, but also know that you have to still be authentic. You have to still bring your full self and your full intention to communicate what it is that has to be communicated. Otherwise, you're enabling. So, and that's not care. You don't care when you do that.
That's so real.
Line between this whole thing with care and then also still showing up and being authentic and knowing that it's okay to let the chips fall where they may. Because guess what I did? Paused and thought about it, and I thought that this could be an outcome. This potentially came up, maybe not this specific thing, but I figured it could go left, but it needed to be said. And what happens? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we have the conversation if I'm not willing to have the conversation?
Well, that was a big reason for my pause. I felt my voice had been stolen because I had spent so much time trying to be careful in how I said things so that I wasn't hurting the audience, so that I was being empathetic to what you feel and are you receiving it the way that I'm meaning it? And I did that so often. Vanessa, I'm a writer too. So I'm in school for writing and directing, and I have always written, but it even got to a point in my journaling where I was so afraid to say the wrong thing in my journal because I didn't want anybody to, God forbid, read it and it be taken out of context. And now I'm the enemy for how I feel. And that has been the pause. That's been the journey of my pause, of really getting back to myself, because I spent a lot of time dumbing it down, watering it down, trying to make sure that I was not hurting the people that I was trying to communicate with. And it wasn't that I just thought I was so everything that I had to say was just so imperative that I say it. No, it was that I was trying to create healing in my family. And I was tired of getting it's stopping at a certain point because we can't get past this conversation, because you can't receive what I'm saying because maybe of my tone, or because maybe it's so infused with what I feel that you can't get past it. The pause has allowed me to say, okay, you got to stop lying to yourself, because I think at a certain point I start lying to myself to make everybody else feel better.
Make it okay.
And as an artist and as a creative and as a healer, I really had to learn that I have to take ownership of my voice. And the way that I've been able to do that is to pause and to really get real with myself again about who I am and what those pieces of me that I put to the side for the sake of getting along. And really, like, when I say things now, I do say them the way that I mean them, and I do say them with care, and it's never my intention to hurt anyone. But I have learned, I think, how to be okay with me. So ultimately, the pause has allowed me to be okay with me. So no matter what happens outside of me, I know I can sleep with me. I can go to sleep with me knowing that I've said what I had to say, or said what God gave me to say. And I said it in a way that I'm okay with. So, you know, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. And if we need to hash it out in a different way, we can do that. But I really had to there were some things I had to let go of, because if I did not pause, I was beating myself up. I was killing myself. I was swallowing so much that really needed to be out. And so getting back into this creative thing was really, you know, me answering to myself and to God, and really saying, you know, this is what I have to do. I have to speak those things. I have to be a poet. You know, I have to say, and that came from Audre Lorde. Oh my gosh. Poetry is not a luxury. Please read the essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury by Audre Lorde, because for women specifically, and probably for everyone in the world, it really isn't. It's the way that we turn our feelings into thoughts and our thoughts into words. And when we are able to articulate what it is that we're feeling, we're able to move through those feelings. Now, feelings can be false. Feelings may come and go, but they should be honored, because there's a reason we're feeling them. And when you said earlier, Vanessa, sometimes you would like, do I trust myself? Do I trust the decision? That was me, 100%. Do I trust? Well, we have intuition. God has given us the gift of intuition for a reason. And if we allow people to gaslight us for so long, we will start questioning our own intuition, and we'll start questioning ourselves. And that's how we start living inauthentically. So the pause has been about a journey to getting back to me, getting back to my authentic self, you know, and choosing people that allow me to be my authentic self. That's why Wanaki is such a important person to me, because her delivery is like my delivery. Like, sometimes you just got to say what needs to be said, and people may not always like it. That's not necessary. Is that me or is that you? You know, I don't know. But I got to say what I got to say. And Wanaki is never afraid to say what needs to be said and say what she needs to say. And even if it's wrong and she has to come back, she going to say what she needs to say. And I love that. And I needed that, you know.
Yeah, that's so great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Like, you just spoke about my life. Literally. Like, everything that you said has been my life since I was a kid. My mother had put it on me. She would say to me that I didn't have tact, you know? And so I went throughout my life being super duper polite. You know what I mean? And it it was hurting my body. Like, I could
Your
feel it.
body. Do you
Like,
hear
I could
me?
feel it. I could feel it in my
That
body.
was
If
my
I didn't,
anxiety.
I could feel it. And then after time, I couldn't control it anymore. It was like I was trying to control it, and then I had to, like, I just have to be myself. And it it does cause a lot of shockwaves for a lot of people, because I am, like I attract a lot of people to me. And so when things are no longer working and I'm finding, trying to find ways to work with situations, people, and I'll just get up and leave. You know what I mean? Like and so, that is very shocking for a lot of people. And, for a long time, I would really like keep it to myself, and I'd be around people that that really weren't for me. I wasn't aligned with, and not like they were bad people or anything like that. I
That's
just want to
right.
be clear, like because like it's not like a duality. It's not like a good, bad, right, wrong thing. It wasn't that at all. It's
Mm-mm.
just we weren't aligned, and so I would stick around in situations with people, even family, it's like really like close family. Like would be around and I'd be like, I gotta make this work. This relationship I gotta make work. And every time those relationships just fell apart. And it what it did was it led me to me, like you said. Like it did. It led me to myself. I started to see that these things were for me, not happening to me. I started to see and blossom through all of those, blind spots that led to breakthroughs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had all these breakthroughs and I continue to, right? Because I do see my life as very expansive.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very expansive life, right? I do what I want to do. You know what I mean? And so, I could say no to those things. I could say, well, let's figure out something else. And I have to also realize that that might not work for the other person. They might not want it like that. They want it this way. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't work for me anymore, right? And I had to see that, that could be very upsetting to people because, they want me the way that
They want you.
exactly. And those expectations that people put, on, and I had to see that I was doing the same thing. I was putting
Mm.
expectations on people that those folks were supposed to be this way, and they, they
Oh, I
aren't.
get that. Yeah.
So I had to just allow people to be who they are, which allows me to be who I am. And then what I've been noticing lately is it aligns me to the people in my life that get me.
Yes.
So when I'm pivoting, like Monica and I talk about this all the time, like we're like constantly pivoting all the time. And so like it doesn't bother me that
Yeah.
she's pivoting because I
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
myself and I trust her. So I
Yeah.
know that we will, it'll be
Oh,
all
end
right.
up
You
back
know
where
what I mean?
we were.
Yeah.
Everything will work out fine. And it won't change how I love her. It
Yeah.
won't change the love. It won't change any of that, right? Because we're aligned, right? And that's the other part that I had to also realize, right? It's like alignment. When you're aligned to people, that alignment, it doesn't change, right?
Mm-mm.
It
Mm-mm.
doesn't. Like I had to see that those other situations and people, like right off the bat,
You
like
knew.
I knew.
You can always go back and
You
know right the
know.
moment that you knew it, and it was always in the
Right,
beginning.
It was
right
always in the
off the bat.
beginning.
It's
I
always
worked at this. I'll never forget this. I worked at this place. I was working with this organization. Within it was the first event that I kind of managed, right? I was managing this event. And it was in the summertime, it was July. So I'd been there 6 months, right? And the 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 CEO of the organization yelled at me for us not having the microphone at the event. And I was like, instantly in that moment, I was like, damn. Because I knew in that moment that
Mm.
it wasn't for
gonna
me.
work. Yeah.
I knew it in that moment, but I had all of these other things that I was doing at the time. So I stuck around,
Mm.
right? So I was like, well, I got to do these other things that I started. So let me do that. Now, at any point in time, I could have left, right? Like, but what I did was I knew in that moment that it wasn't gonna last. And it took like 3 years. It was like almost 4 years that I was working with this organization. And, you know, it was happening all the time. Like but my body energy source was like depleted. Like my
Oof.
hair had fell out. Like it was all kinds of stuff. Like I was
Mm.
just tired all the time, working my tail off, and then finally I just had it and I just sent this email and I knew once I pressed send, I knew it.
It was
I was
over.
like, this is it. This is it.
You know what I wanted to say too, as a parent, I think it became so important to me. What I learned while growing up with my son was intuition. I got back to this place of knowing that I had given my gift of intuition away somewhere along the line. Like I had stopped trusting my intuition. We lost Vanessa.
Yeah.
Um, but it was very important to me that I taught my son the power of intuition, because I think our children are very intuitive.
Mm.
And if we teach them to trust their intuition, then as they get older, they know how. They know that voice. They know when something's off and they can trust themselves. I think when we lose trust in ourselves, it's because we've lost that ability to trust our intuition.
Mm.
So I think what happened for me was, in recognizing the importance of teaching my son to listen to his intuition, because I've always been that parent. I don't make my son hug a soul. Any child, if a child feels uncomfortable in any situation and I see it, I'm going to honor that child's feelings. And I encourage anyone around me to do the same, because children are very intuitive. They know.
Yeah.
And if we allow them, if we teach them and guide them to trust that intuition, then they learn how to trust themselves. And I bet the times that we have bet against ourselves, or the times that we have really done things that were like, that made us trust our judgment and and trust ourselves, is when we went against our intuition. Like Wanaki just said, from the beginning when somebody ain't right for you. You
Mhm.
know from the beginning. And we'll say all these things to make it okay. Like, oh, it's okay. It's just a feeling. It'll pass. And
No.
then later, we're left to be like, dang, I knew this back then. And had I listened,
Just
and that's
listen.
what I was saying earlier about feelings do come and go, but it is important to honor them and listen to them and note them, so
Right.
that you know what's going on in your body, because your body does tell you. Your body tells you what you need to know. In my 20s, when I was experiencing that anxiety, it was because I was in some wild places that I ain't had no business being in.
Mhm.
And
Right.
as opposed to acknowledging I don't have no business being in these places, I'm like, my body is attacking me. Yes,
Mhm.
girl, it is.
Mhm.
Listen, do
Mhm.
something.
Do.
Like, answer.
Yeah.
Your body is trying to alert you. And we all, I think, have that. And so for me, I just want to say, really acknowledging that was something I wanted to teach my son, it helped me, because I had
Yeah.
to then say,
You
okay,
have
where are the places where
to be
I,
trusting.
didn't trust myself, and where did I go against myself, and how could I have prevented that? Oh, I didn't listen to my intuition, and
Yeah.
that's real. I think that's a
Yeah.
real thing.
I did for many years. Like I would like literally say it out loud. Like I
Mm,
would deny it.
mhm,
And I didn't, not until I would say in the last 10 years or so have I been like tapping more into my intuition, and to now see that I'm so sensitive. Like I'm more sensitive than I thought I was. And so now seeing how sensitive I am, like I have minimized the amount of like certain types of energies around me, you know, um, to the point where it's like I'm so insulated, like I've insulated myself. Um, it helps me to to stay in my intuition too, because now, because I'm highly sensitive, I can see all these things, you know, and I'm just like, and I'll be trying to tell folks, like, I'll be like, you know, getting into trouble. You know, I'm not that like trouble, but I be saying stuff because I'm like, I see it. I'm like,
That's me too.
I cannot not say it.
And that's what I thought. But sometimes God tells you something for you to know it. I had to learn that too. Like,
yeah,
girl, you ain't got to say everything God tells you. You don't
well,
have
no,
to.
oh yeah. I mean that too. Like I know when to say it and when not to. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I'm just really quiet, a lot quieter than I was before, and that goes back to
Now.
that, you know, that meditation, like meditating. Like I'm not as quick to be the first person to say something. I take a
Yeah.
step back when I feel like that is like my space. But yeah, but I trust it now. Like I trust, you know, where I am and where I'm tapped in. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
That's what I had to learn was I kept calling it empathy, and it was empathy. I could feel things. God was showing me things about the people that were around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn, and this was why sometimes conversations would become combative. Sometimes God would show me things about someone for my protection. And it wasn't for me necessarily to share it with that person, what God had told me. It was for me and my
Oh
protection.
yeah.
And so I would get into these combative kind of conversations with people about what I saw on them. And they're like, girl, what are you talking about? You ain't,
Oh
that's
yeah.
not me. And I'm
Right.
like,
I was just about to say, because that was me, because they didn't see it, and it's not
they
something
didn't
that
see
they,
it.
so it
Yeah.
immediately is going to be this.
God hadn't revealed it to
And I
them
had
yet,
to
or maybe he
realize that
had.
too. I had to
And they
realize
Yeah.
weren't,
that
they were
this is
just
something
weren't
they haven't seen.
acknowledging it. But I
Yeah.
had to learn. Sometimes God was sending me messages, and this is why I had to get real serious about my intuition. Sometimes God was sending me messages for me to know, you know.
Right.
And if I shared it with someone and they gaslit me out of it, then I would question my intuition as
Oh,
opposed
yep.
to being comfortable knowing what I know. And I don't have to, the truth don't need no help. I don't have to share every revelation God gives me.
Right.
Sometimes it is for me to know. And the more comfortable I became knowing that I knew what I knew, the less I needed to be loud about it. You know what I'm saying? And I've been very quiet too, where I used to be very open and out there and with everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just talking all the time. Now I'm very protective of what I know, because I do want it to be received in a way that is with love, right? And so now I don't need to just yell it. I can say it and I can know it. And it doesn't matter how long it takes me to say it. Sometimes the message won't get to a person until they're ready to receive it. And that's okay. Everything is not so urgent now. You know, it's like, it's okay. When you know what you know what you know. And
Right.
just sitting in that knowing, and I think that's what the pause has allowed me to do too, to
Mm.
sit in the knowing. It's okay to
Yeah.
know what I know and just sit in it. And I don't have to rush to get you to understand it, because your understanding will come when it's time. When a
Right.
student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? So just like it took me until I was 30 to come to this revelation knowledge about the women in my family, whenever you know it's for you to learn, you'll learn something too, that you know, whatever. So the intuition piece, y'all,
It's
that was a
huge.
game changer for me.
Yeah,
That was
me
a game
too.
changer for me.
Me
Well,
too.
guys, we are at an hour and 33 minutes. So this has to be wrapped up. But
Yes.
I think this just goes to show too how important and just necessary this conversation is, because truly this conversation is just like flowed. And I know it could keep going, because it could keep going, trust
Oh
me.
yeah, I got more, you
So that's
You
know.
know what, I'm sorry, I'm
go
not gonna
ahead.
make it long. I'm not gonna make
Okay,
it
go
long.
ahead.
Tracy Ellis Ross said this
Love
years
her.
ago about we are not tragically unique. So I think this conversation series is going to be beautiful for you guys, because oftentimes what happens and what leads us to a pause is we're like, dang, something's going on in our life and it's not, something ain't right, right? But what we find in talking to people is that we're not tragically unique. And sometimes the enemy will make us think that we're the only ones that go through the things that we go through. We're the only ones that God has put on this mission. We're the only ones that sees what other people can't see. You know, we are not alone in the things that we have experienced that may be challenging for us to go through. So the more we talk to each other and the more we hear about each other's experiences, the better we are able to move through the things that we go through.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's my coach would always encourage me to share, like share my accomplishments, like share what it is that I'm going through, share with the people around me, because you're absolutely right. Like people are going through or have gone through very similar things, and I think that that's what connects us. That's what reconnects us as humans.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love this. I love this,
yes.
guys. So as we start to wrap this up, let's just, what are our takeaways from this conversation? Something that we are could probably take into our day or to the week. Um, yeah, what are your takeaways, or what would you like somebody who may come across this to take away from this conversation if they don't get anything else? If they like, listen, my life too lit, I do not have an hour and 35 minutes. What would that takeaway be that you hope?
Why don't you start?
Me, I think that when I think of it, I'm thinking that I really do hope that people see for themselves, can learn the value of just taking a second. You know, I, like I said earlier, I do think that pausing seems to be a bit more destructive than we give it credit for. And so it makes sense why a lot of people won't. But my life has taught me that everything that you want is really on the other side of it, because you realize that everything that you want probably ain't what you want anyway, and it's what you learn in a pause, which is why you end up getting exactly what you need on the other side of it. So I don't know. I think that people should just understand that this is not a luxury, that it is, it for me is a necessity. And I think for most people, because to your point, we are not tragically unique, and we are hardwired a certain type of way, and resting and pausing and those and reflecting and all of those things are just are human things. It's not a man or a woman thing. It's not a feminine, masculine, you know, those things. It's a human thing. And
Mhm.
I hope that people can start to take their rest and these pauses more seriously and be more intentional and choose to find the time, because I know it's a lot going on in the world and people are parents. Again, this is why I love having this conversation with parents, you know, because you had every reason to not figure this out for yourself. And especially like Happy, you being a single parent and figuring it out. And like you had every reason to not prioritize this at all, you know, and you and to continue to do it, you and Vanessa, you know. And so I hope people can see through these conversations that the only excuse that we really have are the ones that we accept. You know what I'm saying? And then other than that, you know, so pause because you have to, not because you're lucky if you get to. It won't happen if you don't create it.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree. I think the purpose of a pause is to take a moment to reflect so that what comes next is comes with intention. And so I think that yes, a pause is absolutely necessary, and I really think of it as what I think meditation is. The purpose is to give myself an opportunity to listen so that I can respond. Um, and I want to respond because I want what I choose to come from a place of authenticity and a place of power, that I can sustain whatever comes next, right?
Mhm.
So I think the pause allows us to reflect and respond from a place that allows us to choose us and to
Mm.
choose powerfully and
Mm.
move forward powerfully.
Mm.
So I think the pause is important. I think this conversation is important.
Wow.
Choose more powerfully. That's my take
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. So first I just want to say I don't really have much to say because both y'all said what I would say. And so I'll just add this little piece, and that is, and I think you already said it, Happy, which is like the to choose powerfully, or Wanaki. I think that's what pausing does. Like you're able to choose powerfully for you, and I think that it is absolutely important, and it's a necessity for us to grow and expand, for us to to create the kind of life that we want. So yeah, I mean that's all I got. Thank you, y'all. I mean that was
Yes.
perfect. Yes.
Happy, as we wrap this up, what do you have, any things coming up, any shows coming up? How can people connect with you as they come across this video? You take us out, you get the final say.
Yeah. So right now I am in my senior year. I'm about to finish up at Columbia. Right now I'm really inundated with projects on that front, but you can follow me on Instagram. I have not been posting a lot, but that is because I am in a pause and I want to move forward powerfully with how I reintroduce myself to the world as a creative with everything that I've learned in the past 3 years. When this pause comes to an end, which is, coming soon, because now I have in this pause been able to decide where I want to go next. Everything will be up on Instagram. So Happy Danielle, at Happy Danielle, which is HapiDanielle on Instagram, and you can keep up with me there.
Do you have any live shows coming up? Any
I do have a live show coming up. However, the date is TBD, so it will be announced on Instagram.
Can you give us some insight of these shows and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so Mirrors to Stages is a platform that I have co-created with my business partner. Ultimately, it is an experience for musicians to come out. I interview them in a podcast format, but it is a live show, and so it's for their fans, and then they perform their music in front of a live band, and that is also recorded and in a live show format. So we've done 4 shows so far. However, we're going to renew and keep going. We had a show that we had to cancel, unfortunately, last week. So we are going to be rescheduling and coming out with a whole new host of shows. But it's called Mirrors to Stages. You can also follow that page on Instagram. It's Mirrors to Stages. TO is the 2. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well,
you.
thank you for sharing your Sunday with us.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
And this was amazing. We're gonna have to bring you back on in the new year and
Yeah.
Please do.
talk about what the pause has produced for us all. I'm excited to see, what's on the other side of this.
Yeah.
I'm
you-
excited to see these conversations on Sage and Bloom. You guys, this is beautiful what you're doing. It's super necessary.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful time to do it.
Yes, I think
The
it's
winter
perfect.
is a great time.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing today and bringing all of those amazing insights and actual like shifts that you made in your life to help you create and continue to create your life. I'm really excited to see what you create as you're on your creative
Thanks.
journey. And like we'll talk. I got some things that you might find interesting as you're going through your senior year.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes, I love this. I'm gonna make sure to connect y'all. And this is what it's all about too. Like finding the people you align with, and then how do we help make this thing work for us all together.
Yes.
So I love this. I love the building community, real time. Y'all are seeing this real time. And this is what's so dope to me, because a year from now, it's going to be like, we showed you the formula. And all the formula it's just this. Like we showed it to you. So I love it. I love it. To the sea. So all right, ladies, you all enjoy your Sunday. I'm going to get my day started. And I look forward to speaking with you all later. I know, Happy, I'm going to be talking to you, and Vanessa, I'm going to be talking to you. So, I look forward to this. I'll connect you all offline, and then, enjoy your week.
Yeah,
Perfect.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good day.
Have a great one.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.